Battery, as we convene the 310th meeting of the State Bar of Georgia's Board of Governors, and allow me to call this meeting to order by simply saying that it's been a great weekend, and I think this has been a great venue for us. We've had great programming, and we've had a great time, and so we look forward to this meeting today. I hope everyone's enjoyed it. A couple of reminders as we get started. First, this meeting is being live streamed. It is open to the public, members of the media, and hello out there in virtual world. For those in the room, at any point, if you have a discussion to offer, please make your way to one of our microphones so that we can recognize you and so that everyone can hear you, even those who may be watching virtually. So it's important that we use those mics. As part of this meeting, we actually have two parts to this meeting. We will, at some point in the agenda, adjourn our governor's meeting and go into a plenary session. And while we are in that plenary session, all members of the bar can vote. During the Board of Governors meeting, however, only board members with a green name tag can vote, and you must be in the room to vote. We are using today Point Solutions as our voting platform, and you will use the Point Solutions app on your mobile device, the ttpoll.com website on your computer, or a clicker. And if you need a clicker, please raise your hand so that we can get one to you. And of course, during our meeting, if you need any help, please just raise your hand and one of the members of our wonderful staff will help you. At this time, allow me to call on two of our YLD members to bring us the pledge and the invocation. Bringing us our pledge will be Matt Caudell, who is on the YLD Board of Directors, and for our invocation, Hannah Hostetler. And we'll ask them to come up and introduce themselves. Tell us a little bit about your practice, where you're living, and please give us the pledge and the invocation. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Matt Caudell. I am an attorney from Gainesville, Georgia. I am one of the three co-chairs for this year's Leadership Academy. I'll let Veronica speak, I'm sure, to that a little bit later on this morning, but they are here this morning. So please be on your best behavior. I would also like to congratulate, my understanding is this is the first session with the Senior Lawyers Division being active. Yeah. And on behalf of the YLD, this was actually Ivy Cadle's idea. We're going to have a fist fight in the parking lot after the meeting today. Senior Lawyers Division versus YLD. It's going to be an annual event, so we're really looking forward to that. See you then. Yeah. I didn't run that by Damon before I came up here. Yeah, no fee will be assessed for that. If you all would please join me in reciting the pledge, if you'd please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Hannah Hostetler. I'm also a member of the YLD, and I'm an assistant United States attorney for the Middle District of Georgia. Thank you all for having me, especially to President Twyman for the invitation. Please bow your heads with me. Lord God, you are the author of truth, the source of justice, and the final judge over all things. We come before you as attorneys and judges, called to think clearly, speak carefully, and act courageously. Let us be people who love truth more than winning, justice more than convenience, and integrity more than reputation. Guard us from cleverness without conscience and knowledge without humility. Make us faithful to our clients, serving them with diligence, kindness, and compassion, faithful to the law, respecting its purpose and resisting its misuse, and faithful to you, remembering that no earthly court stands above your throne. Lord, give us energy not only when clients call and courts convene, but when our communities throughout Georgia cry out for justice. Help us show up where the need is greatest, especially where no applause follows and no billable hour exists. Remind us daily that we are not merely lawyers or judges, but servants entrusted with influence, especially in this meeting today. May we argue and decide well, but above all, may we live wisely, lead faithfully, and seek your justice in all we do. Amen.
Thank you, Hannah, and thank you, Matt, for coming. And again, to our governors, just let's continue to collaborate with and fellowship with our YLD and get to know them because we all are one bar. Allow me at this time to call on Sergeant First Class Dexter Harden to come with a security update. And as Sergeant Harden comes, let's thank him for all he does to keep this bar, our meetings, safe and secure. Thank you.
Good morning. Happy New Year to everyone. Just quickly, as we come to a close for the mid-year meeting, I hope everybody felt safe, secure. As a reminder, we always have security here. There are always 2 uniformed officers. I'm always here. If you have any issues, concerns of safety, please feel free to reach out to us. The troopers are approachable, so they're not gonna bark at you, but they'll help you as much as they can, and I will always lend a hand as well. If there was any issues that we need to know about, please let me know. I got with the hotel probably last week or for the last month and a half to come up with contingency plans. Just know that we already know exit strategies. We already know logistics on planning, the local emergency systems, local emergency services. All of that is always in place for each and every meeting. As a reminder as well, we skipped the weather this year, so the weather should not affect us leaving here. Just keep in mind on Sunday, depending on where you live, there may be issues with weather. Thank you. Have a safe travel.
Thank you, Sergeant Harden, and to all of you, you're welcome that I did not bring you ice and snow for your mid-year like Ivy did.
It's coming tomorrow.
We won't be here. Allow me this opportunity to recognize our special guests and join me, after I've called their names by court, to welcome them from the Supreme Court. We have Chief Justice Nels Peterson, Presiding Justice Sarah Warren, Justice Charles Bethel, Justice John Ellington, Justice Carla McMillan, Justice Verda Colvin, Justice Andrew Pinson, and Justice Ben Land. Let's welcome the court. From the Court of Appeals, we have Presiding Judge Sarah Dole, Presiding Judge Christopher McFadden, Judge Ken Hodges, and I believe I saw Judge Trent Brown in the room. Yes, let's welcome the Court of Appeals. In the mid-year, our past presidents have their own little meeting thing going on. I'll join you next year. Let's welcome the past presidents: Sally Akins, Bill Barwick, Bill Cannon, Robin Clark, Hal Daniel, Tony Del Campo, Elizabeth Fite, Judge Ken Hodges, Robert Ingram, Dawn Jones, Bob Kaufman, Linda Klein, George Mundy, Pat O'Connor, Brian Rogers, and John Salmon. This time we'll call on Secretary Jones for the roll call.
Good morning, everyone. You all have probably already noticed that there are rolls circulating throughout the rows. I ask that all of the Board of Governors members please sign said roll. And we would also love for our guests as well, especially with our Leadership Academy class being here, to sign the roll as well. So there are pages at the back of each roll that allow you all to do so. And I will always ask kindly that Whoever is the last to sign the rolls in your respective sections, please leave them here. Don't pack them up in your excitement to catch up with one another and to enjoy the wonderful time and fellowship together and leave with said rolls. So please just leave them here and I'll collect them at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Jones. I'll direct your attention to page 15 of the board book with our future meeting schedule, but I'll highlight our next two meetings, which include from March 27th through the 29th. We'll be at Lake Oconee, the Ritz-Carlton there, for our spring meeting. Hope all of you can join us. And then June 11th through the 14th, our annual meeting, we return to the Omni at Amelia Island. So we look forward to seeing everyone there. At this time, we will adjourn the 310th Board of Governors meeting and call to order the plenary session of membership of the State Bar of Georgia. All active members of the State Bar of Georgia are invited to vote on the matter that's going to come before you. But before we do that, let's start with a test poll, if we can. Let's make sure the clickers are working. And the mid-year test poll question is, what is your most frequently used or favorite emoji? Yeah. All right, the clickers are working. Let's see the poll results. We need a clicker. If you do not have a clicker and need one, please raise your hand. All members of the bar can vote in this plenary session. Anyone else? Got one in the back. Okay, and with that, allow me to call on our General Counsel, Russ Willard, to come with proposed changes to Article 4, Section 3, misconduct and removal.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is a pleasure to join you this morning. Since we adopted the new Article 4, Section 3 at our mid-year last year, we have continued, as we do with all the bylaws and rules, to continue to evaluate their effectiveness and their parameters. In addition, unfortunately, we have had a couple of situations that have forced us to go back and look at it and realize that we might need to expand or improve Article 4, Section 3. Under the existing bylaw, the Executive Committee really lacks the authority to act unless a member has been asked to leave an event. The proposed change in front of you will allow for an investigation and EC action even if bar leadership and does not become aware of the incident until after the conclusion of an event, or if the individual who has violated our bylaws has left the event before we become aware. We do not want to have the proverbial race to the parking lot to say, you can't leave until I tell you you have to leave. And that is what this bylaw change would effectuate. And I'll be happy to take questions, Mr. President, if there are any.
Any questions about this change?
As someone who regularly engages in misconduct, I've got to tell you that I'm troubled by this, primarily because there's no due process involved. Simply arbitrary determination by some member or members of the executive committee or some officers that somebody has, in their eyes, misbehaved, and allows that group of vigilantes to then take this person out of the meeting and not allow them to return. I mean, without there has to be some form of due process. And I'm not talking about a trial or a hearing or anything like that, but it has to be something more than the perspective of members of leadership of the bar. Thank you.
Do you want to respond? Thank you. Any response, Mr.
We have.
General Counsel?
Yes, Mr. President. Now, first, I will point out, I'm glad to see that Darrell read the bylaw, because when I talked to him 10 minutes ago and said, do you have any questions about the bylaws or rules? He said, no. So clearly he's read it since that
It's a setup.
conversation.
Okay. Any other comments?
We did, in drafting the original Article 4, Section 3, make clear that the individual who is subject to the investigation has the opportunity to respond, to present their case. This is a bylaw that I hope never, or at most rarely, is ever invoked. This is about providing a mechanism where if one of our 55,000 members acts in a manner that is not reflective of their privilege as a member of this profession, that we have some backstop as we are talking to them about paths forward. And that's all this is. But we have had issues arise in the past, before the adoption of this bylaw, and since we adopted this bylaw in January, that implicate this bylaw. You have an executive committee that you've placed trust in terms of operating this. They are the backstop, and I will say the harshest questions, Darrell notwithstanding, or comments, excuse me, have come when we're having EC discussions. The members of the executive committee that you have entrusted are not going to be rubber stamps in this process. They are going to give the members the opportunity to be heard. But we have to have the ability to say, your conduct is such that, at least for the moment, you need to not attend in-person CLEs. You don't need to attend YLD in-person events, whatever the situation may arise. And that is all this bylaw does.
Thank you, Russ. Any other comments or questions?
Excuse me, Andy Welch, Flint Circuit. I'm a question about the middle language on lines 10 and 11. I understand that the paragraph B there deals with an event. The language in the middle is a clause in and of itself, and it does not specify relative to an event. The first clause does, the second clause does, but not the middle. And that seems to be fairly broad in the context of how it could be applied.
I think it was written in such a way that there is going to be interaction potentially with bar staff, potentially with bar contractors, leading up to an event or just in general interaction. For our CLE, you have in-person CLE, you have day of, but you have interaction prior to that with registration, with these meetings, Gaki and her staff. You have interaction with that. And there may be issues that arise during that period that need to be dealt with, where in the registration leading up to or the interaction with bar staff, that you do not need to attend, at least as if the EC determines, that event that you were registering for.
Judge.
10 years ago, whenever we were up in Myrtle Beach, there was a dispute between various members of the executive committee and the folks at the hotel, and we all almost went to jail.
Oh, I missed that.
And when I say we, I don't mean me, because I was trying to play peacemaker, if y'all find that hard to believe. But everybody in the room almost went to jail. So it's very, interact with staff, contractors, agents, or volunteers. We all would have been kicked out of the whole bar meeting, apparently, based upon the interaction we had that weekend, because there was a dispute over the hospitality suite and how late it was supposed to be open and who all could be there and stuff getting stolen. I mean, it was a big mess. I'm just throwing that out there as a problem possibility, and then what happens if it's a member of the EC or who has the dispute and who's going to make the complaint to who. It's a problem, but that's.
I get that, Judge Cannon. I will remind you that it's not a strict liability bylaw. The EC has to vote on it. In your situation, if the EC had been hauled to jail, I guess the issue of whether we have a quorum for the EC would be whether they shared a cell or not.
And I'll add this and then we'll vote, because I want to be clear. There's already a policy that says we can take action. What this amendment does, to crystallize it, is the current rule we have says the action is taken while the person is there. If we don't learn about the behavior until after they've left, we can't act under our current policy. That's the change we're making, okay? To allow us, if we get the information after they've left the event, to still be able to take action. And so with that, I'm going to ask for a motion on this particular bylaw. And with that, and after we hear a motion, I'll need a second, and then we can have any further discussion. Is there a motion to adopt this change in the bylaw? Is there a second? Any further discussion? We ready? Hearing none, we'll have the vote. And the question is, do you approve the proposed amendment to Article 4, Executive Committee, Section 3, Misconduct and Removal as presented? A, to approve. B, not to approve. We'll close the poll in 3, 2, 1. You'll publish the results. All right. And the amendment is approved. Thank you. Thank you. With that, we will adjourn the plenary session and reconvene the 310th meeting of the State Bar Board of Governors. And before we go forward, and my apologies for the omission, but I would like to recognize two past presidents that I failed to recognize, so charge it to my head and not my heart. One is, I think he's in the room, past President Darrell Sutton. And past President Ivy Cadle. Did not mean to omit you two. Now it's time for our action items, and we'll call back Secretary Jones for approval of our minutes from the 309th meeting.
Each of you have before you in your board book, and hopefully you've had a chance to review the 309th, the minutes for the 309th meeting of the Board of Governors that took place on October 11th. Are there any changes or edits that need to be made?
I think I've already heard a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, let's vote. And this vote is only by members of the Board of Governors. I didn't say that earlier before the vote, but we are now back in the Board of Governors meeting, so if you do not have a green name tag, please do not vote. All right, let's close the poll and publish the results. Minutes are approved. Thank you, Secretary Jones. I know, that's a first. We're on a roll, Russ and Bill. Who wants to come up and talk about funding? General Counsel will come to discuss proposed changes to Rule 10-103, funding.
Thank you, Mr. President. If you'll look in your board book, there is a line item or a red line version of what we are proposing to change in 10-103. As you are all aware, the Client Security Fund collects assessments from the members that deal with situations, and the trustees are empowered to provide compensation to clients who have been harmed by actions of our fellow bar members. The way that the rule was written originally, when it first went into effect years ago, is that the trustees were not empowered to spend in any given bar year more than they had collected in that year's assessments. As there has been years that the trustees have not fully spent up, there haven't been sufficient claims to spend that amount, there were additional funds collected year over year. The way that the rule was written in operation, they could never spend down those funds that were carried forward from prior years. And this rule simply says that in addition to the assessments collected for that year, the trustees are also empowered, if they have sufficient claims, to spend monies that have been carried forward from prior years. And with that, Mr. President, I'll be happy to take any questions or comments.
And I think I see one here to my right.
Would this allow the trustees to spend the entire balance in one year?
It would.
And has anyone considered just not charging the bar members for a year or two? Working the balance down in that way instead?
So under our rules, the assessments are such that they are set by rule. There would have to be a rule change to drop them down in any given year.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion? Oh, I'm sorry.
We've got one.
Yes.
What is the magnitude of the war chest that we've accumulated?
I'm not the numbers gentleman. I am the rules gentleman. If you'll give me 1 second, I'll get a current approximation. It's in the financials on page 63 of the board book. It shows that we have a amount of $3.3 million in the account. That is reflective of the fact that claims had gone down over COVID. We are seeing an acceleration of claims now that we're coming out of the pandemic for both activity that occurred in COVID and that did not. The trustees have a couple of claims in front of them, or a couple of class of claims in front of them, that each are likely going to exceed the roughly $750,000 that is collected in any bar year because of the amount of harmed clients and the amount of harm suffered by those clients.
Any other comments or questions? Ed?
Yeah, thank you. Was Ed Piasta, any consideration to turn it more into an endowment?
I'm sorry.
Turn it into an endowment as opposed to be able to spend down $3 million in 1 year? Like put in an interest-bearing account, be able to spend the interest during a year, but let the dues grow? Versus being able to spend it all down in 1 year?
So this was, when it was originally created, was at the direction of the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court wanted a fund to continue forward to act as a backstop for our members who had caused harm to their clients. This is, I do not believe that the court, in their interactions with the bar at the time and the Board of Governors at the time that this rule was adopted ever designed to create sort of a corpus, for lack of a better description, to just spin off funds. I do not believe that that was ever the intention at the time. I do not believe that is the current intention of the court. I believe they view this as an insurance fund that is depleted and then replenished year over year.
So with the excess, they would all be depleted in 1 year, which sounds like there's significant excess. And then the next year, it's going to be underfunded based off of previous.
The trustees are empowered to write down claims. The trustees are empowered to determine that claims are not sufficiently documented to be processed. They have a fiduciary obligation to that fund to ensure its continued operation, to ensure that for a given year, if you have somebody come in with a $500,000 claim against one of our members, I do not believe that the trustees would authorize the payment of that entire fund, our entire claim, because even under their plenary authority to exceed the cap in specific circumstances, because it would deplete disproportionately. This is to mitigate the harm, not to serve as a complete insurance for our members' misconduct. And I think what you would see is the trustees would look. I do not believe that the trustees are going to spend down the entire $3.3 million in a given year because of their fiduciary obligation to the fund. I think you will see with the members that we have entrusted to operate this fund that you will see year over year they can intrude upon what is carried forward, but they're not going to spend it down and then come back to you in year two, hat in hand, and say, okay, we've got to raise the assessment.
Well, and that's my concern. So if you spend down $3.3 million, because it's what this authorizes, then the next year is like, well, we had this much in claims, and all of a sudden it's $20, $25 assessments to the members. I mean, I carry insurance as a law firm because other lawyers don't. Like, you know, I'm sure my constituents would be concerned about raising rates because that seems like it's the natural consequence, is it not?
It is one potential consequence. I do not believe it is what will happen. But again, all this is doing is saying that $3.3 million right now can never go down under the existing rule. The $3.3 million is going to carry forward, and then for bar year 25, 26, if for some reason the claims that I were talking about don't come to fruition or are carried forward to the next year, as soon as we get to July 1, 2026, then they're capped with what is collected for the 26, 27 bar year.
And then is the $3.3 million, is that invested in, you know, stocks or bonds, or so it
Yes.
grows like I mean, that was my
Correct.
question.
It's the same, I think, as with any fund.
So the
collected.
corporate, the 3.3 you're not spending down with this, it's just additional funds?
I'm sorry.
You're not spending down the 3.3 million? Does this authorize the trustees to spend down the 3.3 million to zero? That's how I understand it.
Theoretically, the trustees, if they determine in their fiduciary capacity to spend down that in a given bar year, they could do so.
Okay, thank you.
And you mentioned cap just a minute ago, but there is an amount that the trustees can, a maximum amount that trustees can pay one claimant.
Well, I think generally, my deputy general counsel is shaking his head. I believe that they have a typical cap of $25,000, but they can waive it.
Okay. So we're going to authorize a group that can spend all, but I'm not saying the trustees would do this, but the rule would allow them to give $3 million to one claimant if that's what they chose to do. Is that right?
That is a theoretical possibility if they choose to exercise their fiduciary trust that this organization has placed in them.
I think it'd be a way better rule if we said, this is how much we're going to allow you to go over the collected amount for this year, and then next year we'll look at it again. But I'm against the way this is written. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Any other questions? Is there a motion?
There was a.
We did have one? No, hold, I think we've got a comment or a question. Is there someone I should recognize? Seeing no one, is there a motion to approve the proposed amendment to Bar Rule 10-103 funding as presented? Is there a second? Any discussion?
Yeah, I appreciate your question, answer. I'm going to personally vote no against it because I don't like the lack of discipline that we got to rely on trustees. My constituents, including myself, have built up this fund of $3.3 million, and you can spend it all in 1 year. That doesn't make sense to me. That's not the way an endowment would work. That's not the way an insurance company would work. And so I'm going to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Further discussion? Mr. Peak.
Just very briefly, from time and service on the disciplinary board, there are instances when lawyers without insurance steal significant sums of money from clients. This money is collected. We'd all like it to be used responsibly. That's why we have the trustees in place. Let's take care of the clients.
Any further discussion? Seeing no hands, let's call the question. One more. Past President Jones.
I just want to confirm, because things might have changed since I was in leadership. I thought there was a cap per case.
So the trustees have done away with the cap as the amount carried forward from year over year has increased.
Thank you for that clarification.
Any further discussion? There's a motion on the floor to approve, so I think we have to proceed with that motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's call the question. The question is, do you approve the proposed amendment as presented? A, to vote to approve. B, to disapprove. Closing the poll in 3, 2, 1. Let's publish the results. The amendment passes. There are no recounts. It's time to handle nominations for ABA delegates. Georgia has 6 delegates to the American Bar Association House of Delegates, and these positions are open to any Georgia lawyer who is an ABA member. The delegates are not funded by the bar. They pay their own way to the ABA meetings. 3 of the ABA delegate seats are up for nomination at this meeting. Post 1 is currently held by Judge Alvin Wong. Post 3, currently held by Alicia Frazier. Post 7, currently held by Sherry Edenfield. Both Judge Wong and Sherry Edenfield have asked to be renominated. Your board book published Alicia Frazier as a nominee. However, she has asked not to be renominated. Judge Christopher Middleton would like to be nominated for post 3. And so that will make up the slate. Judge Wong, Sherry Edenfield, Judge Middleton. That is the recommendation for this slate. We do not vote on the delegates. However, we must have a nomination and a second for these positions, but there's no vote. And so I will also mention, if you are interested in running for any of these posts, you may do so by filing a petition and you can consult the bar rules and contact State Delegate Bob Rothman if you would like to do so. There's still time, but we need to put forward a slate today, and with that, I'll request a motion or a nomination motion and a second for these positions. Is there a motion to approve this slate? Is there a second? Thank you. Now we've come to that time for the nomination of state bar officers. Nominations will be 5 minutes, limited to 5 minutes. There's a clock right here to keep us on task. Seconds will be 2 minutes, and we will start with office of the secretary. Are there any nominations for the position of secretary? And I see Mr. Will Davis rises and comes to the well.
Good morning. Let me get my notes up. Has the clock started? You can go. You can go. All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Garfield, Conan O'Brien, Chucky from Rugrats, Chucky from Child's Play. You know, that's a list of unqualified redheads to be Secretary of the State Bar of Georgia. But today, I rise to nominate the funniest, the most charming, most popular redhead on the Board of Governors for Secretary. And before you ask yourself, Will, are you nominating yourself? The answer is no. I rise today to nominate my friend and colleague Bert Hummel for the role of Secretary for the State Bar of Georgia. I have known Bert since 2013. We were in the Wild E Leadership Academy together, which was a long time ago. We are both now OLD, but within the Leadership Academy, Bert and I met. The first meeting, you're kind of like, God, who is that guy? Tall, loud, obnoxious, but I quickly met Bert, got to know him, and he became one of my best friends. I think Mary and Stephanie quickly realized, okay, if it's a Wild E leadership retreat, anything, Bert and Will are going to share a room with the occasional appearance by Matt Gettinger, until, of course, we met our respective spouses, who then took on those roles. Bert is a, how do I want to say this? As a leader, Bert is supportive, he is active, he shows up. Bert and I, going through Wild E leadership, both expressed an interest in running for Wild E president. Eventually, you start as secretaries the same way. We worked together, decided we weren't going to run against each other, and I was president when Bert was president-elect. Through that, I got to sit on the executive committee with him for 2 years. But most importantly, during that time, 2019, 2020 was my year. So my year was cut off and stunted by COVID. Bert, however, then had an entirely virtual year. When I thought my year was the worst, I think Bert then handled his entirely virtual year with grace. He adapted, he quickly shifted, and we had a great year within the Wild E in 2020 and 2021. Bert is actively engaged in his practice. He owns his law firm, Hummel Trial Law, out of Kennesaw. He's a member of the Board of Governors for the Cobb County delegation. I had him list out his various accomplishments, which he said was obnoxious, but I don't believe him. Let me find that photo. So Bert currently, of course, serves on the Board of Governors, has been a member of the Board of Governors since 2023. He has been on the Executive Committee for 3 years as a member of Wild E Leadership and was elected to serve in 2024. He served on the State Bar of Georgia Foundation. He's been Vice Chair of the Bench and Bar Committee. He served on the Advisory Committee on Legislative Affairs. He has served on both disciplinary committees, has served as chair there within the Young Lawyers Division, President, President-elect, and all the other roles. State Disciplinary Review Board, Cobb County Bar Association, he's the current secretary. I think he kind of wants to be like Daryl, I don't know. And I don't know why he'd want to do that. But Bert is more than qualified to lead the bar. Bert loves the bar. He is the epitome of what I think a lawyer should strive to be. He loves his community. He loves his family, his better half, Christina, who is here over there, his 3 children, Mo, Harper, and Finn. He puts them on a pedestal. I have seen him volunteer at their school. I think he dressed up as Santa Claus. I've seen him run a 5K dressed as Santa Claus. Bert wants to do this for the right reasons. And so with that in mind, I would nominate a qualified ginger. I do have to laugh. Earlier I was talking to Bert, and then Sherry Edenfield popped up, and then Kevin Patrick was right behind us. So all of the redheads, we support one another. And so I would nominate Bert for secretary. I think he will do a great job, will serve the bar well, and I'm just very happy for him in this moment. So I proudly nominate Bert Hummel for secretary of the State Bar. Oh. One more thing. I brought this. I didn't put it on. Bert had one in-person meeting. It was at the Isle of Palms, his very last meeting when we reconvened after a COVID shutdown in 2013. So in 14 annual meetings, I have never signed up for nor run the Wild E Fun Run. I don't think running is fun. So, but Bert did get T-shirts made for Bert Hummel's Young Lawyers Division Pro Bono Celebrity COVID Awareness Pro-Am Fun Run Race for Wellness. So hung on to that. That was Bert's year. So while I did not participate, I got a T-shirt. So good luck, Bert.
Thank you, Will. Is there a second on the nomination of Bert Hummel for the office of secretary? I recognize Tracy Benzo.
He hails, don't do it. He hails from Cobb County, Georgia, standing at a massive 6'7", as the little kids say, 6'7", with red hair and distinguished gray and ginger beard. He weighs in at 275 pounds, soaked and wet, of twisted steel, and I'm not sure if I should say it, Miguel. Sex appeal. He is a UGA alumni, go Dogs, and a Mercer Law grad, bear down. The charismatic shogun of the classroom where he serves as Mercer Law professor, and the courtroom where he represents car wreck victims, personal injury clients, and injured workers. Known throughout the pools everywhere at the annual conference, some of you have seen it as Big Papa Splash. Some of you just heard it, in case you didn't. He's the chairman of the State Disciplinary Review Board, serves on this executive committee, and of the Georgia Trial Lawyers Association. Some of you know it as GTLA. He is the king of softball coaches, basketball over 40 leagues, meaning you have to be over 40 with bad knees to play in the league, and kickball referee. And we hope, the next secretary of the State Bar. And if he wasn't a lawyer vying for this illustrious position, he would be the best wrestler in the world. Do you hear me? Do you feel me? I rise, Tracy Benzo of Atlanta, to nominate my brother in the law, Bert Hummel. Hey.
Big Daddy cool, Big Daddy cool, Big Daddy cool, Big Daddy cool, all right. Big Daddy cool, Big Daddy cool, Big Daddy cool, Big Daddy cool, okay.
Oh, boy. Are there any other nominations for secretary other than Big Daddy Cool? None? Okay. Hearing no other nominations for the office of secretary, let's move to the office of treasurer. Are there any nominations for the office of treasurer? I see past President Darrell Sutton coming to the well.
Before I park at the well, I need to present my bar card and government-issued ID. Because apparently I'll get kicked out of this parking space if I don't do so.
Hey, Darrell, you are on notice that you're going to get kicked out of this meeting.
There will be no hearing and no due process. Vigilantes, I remind you, vigilantes. So I know very little about a lot of things, but I know a lot about a little bit of things. In fact, my motto is Daryl Sutton, making the most of limited resources since 1977. If there's two things that I know a lot about, it's Shrieky Cavett-Jones, who will always be Shrieky Cavett to me, and the State Bar of Georgia and what it takes to be a leader in the State Bar of Georgia. I know that if you call her Shrieky, you're mispronouncing her name, because it could be Shirikai, Cherokee, or a number of other things that she's been called over the years. I know that Shrieky loves Daryl so much that she asked one to nominate her and married another. I know Shrieky loves barbecue restaurants. We've traveled and eaten at many of them together. And I know that Shrieky is a tireless worker and servant for the bar and for our profession, which is why I think that she's ideal for this position, because I know that to be a State Bar of Georgia leader, you have to be determined, you have to be hardworking, you have to be willing to not let obstacles prevent you from achieving your goals, and you have to be resilient. I know Shrieky well enough to know the following story. In 2012, after spending more than a decade working her butt off to become a leader in the Young Lawyers Division, Shrieky lost a race for secretary of that organization by 2 votes. Imagine spending 10 years of your life working toward a goal and losing the opportunity to achieve that goal because of 2 votes. And to someone that, let's be honest, wasn't as qualified or as capable as her. But Shrieky didn't let that stand in her way. She was resilient, determined, hardworking. She went on to lead GABWA as its president, went on to seek and obtain a seat on this board in one of the most competitive, if not the most competitive circuits in the state, served this board with distinction for several years before running successfully for secretary of the bar last year, and has served capably in that position this year, and with your help will serve next year as treasurer. At the same time that Shrieky was losing the race for Wildy secretary, there was a magical masterpiece of a movie being released called Pitch Perfect. It was awesome. There's a scene in that movie where Brittany Snow and Anna Kendrick encounter each other in a dormitory bathroom. Sorry, I had a moment about them encountering each other in a dormitory bathroom. As Brittany Snow and Anna Kendrick are together, they break into a song whose lyrics, in my opinion, are very fitting for Shrieky. See me, here, see ya. I'm bulletproof, nothing to lose. Fire away, fire away. Ricochet, you take your aim. Fire away, fire away. You shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am titanium. Shrieky Cavett is titanium. Please join me in supporting her for treasurer of the State Bar of Georgia.
Is there a second to the nomination for Shrieky Jones? Zara Karinchak.
I don't know how I follow all of this, but Mr. President, officers, members of the board, and colleagues, I am honored to rise here to second the nomination of my friend Shrieky Cavett-Jones for treasurer of the State Bar of Georgia. I do so with deep respect for her commitment to servant leadership and the unwavering dedication she has for working for us as members, our profession, and our broader community, the state of Georgia, which we call home. Throughout her service, as you have heard, and you know, Shrieky has consistently demonstrated leadership. And it's not about title or recognition for her, it's about responsibility, love for others, and love for the profession and our community. And that's why I'm so honored that she asked for me to consider to second her, because it is a great honor to get to stand and put her forth in front of you. She's done such a great job. You saw she got the first unanimous vote in the history of our voting as far as I'm concerned. But her professional background reflects strong command of fiduciary responsibility. And we're talking about money. We got $3.5 million apparently that might be spent. And she understands that the Treasury role is not just about numbers, but about stewardship, protecting our resources, and making sure they're spent in a way that is responsible and advances our mission and strengthens our profession. Equally important is her commitment to the people behind the profession. She's invested in making the bar accessible, responsive, supportive of attorneys and our communities throughout Georgia. In every capacity, she's proven herself to be thoughtful, hardworking, and guided by a genuine desire to serve. I'm confident she will bring these positions to the office of the treasurer, and please join me in supporting Sharika Cavett-Jones for treasurer. Thank you so much. Happy New Year.
Are there any other nominations for the office of treasurer? Hearing none, we'll move to office of president-elect. Are there nominations for the office of president-elect? I see Judge Morris making her way to the well.
Okay. Good morning. Distinguished members of the Georgia Supreme Court, the Georgia Court of Appeals, President Twyman, members of the Executive Board, Board of Governors, and guests. I rise to nominate Javon Hicks to serve as the president-elect. Now, Daryl, I saw you somewhere in here. This is not AI generated.
The sequence for constructing a State Bar of Georgia president-elect bionic woman, A. Javon Hicks. One would likely prioritize the brain, followed by the heart, and finally, the arms and legs. This order is based on the critical function and interdependence of these organs and limbs. The brain. The brain is essential for all cognitive functions. The heart. The heart is crucial for survival, ensuring circulation throughout the body and providing a stable internal environment necessary for complex bionic systems to integrate and function. Arms and legs. The limb, while vital for mobility and interaction with the environment, are dependent on the core functions managed by the brain and the heart. State Bar of Georgia President-elect, bionic woman, Javon Hicks.
So everyone, Javon has served as our State Bar's bionic woman since 2009 for 17 years. She has put her heart and soul into every committee, every meeting, every position held within the State Bar of Georgia, and every member. Javon has had the vision, and she has forecast that we would have a Center for Lawyer Well-Being. And with the collaboration of our Supreme Court, our past presidents, our board members, our members of the bar, we now have that, and we have over 1,200 members. Javon's prior bar leadership roles include past president of the DeKalb Bar Association, board membership into the Georgia Association of Black Women Attorneys. She was first elected to serve as State Bar Executive Committee in 2020. She served as secretary from 2023 to 24 and treasurer from 2024 to 2025. Javon was sworn in as a member of the State Bar in 1990 and has served as a distinguished Georgia lawyer for over 36 years, serving as acting district attorney, the chief assistant district attorney for DeKalb County, clerk of state court, chief of staff to the federal government, and associate magistrate judge and her current position as Deputy Court Administrator for the City of Atlanta Municipal Court. Javon's service to the State Bar of Georgia and our over 55,000 members is impeccable. It is time for Javon to serve as our president-elect. I am proud to stand as her sister in the law, her friend, her mentee, and I nominate Javon Hicks as our next president-elect. I ask for your support. Thank you.
Is there a second to the Hicks nomination? Past President Jones.
Good morning. How are you guys doing? Good. You sound quiet. Get more coffee. The stated purpose of the State Bar of Georgia is as follows: to foster the principles of duty and service to the public amongst its members, to improve the administration of justice, and to advance the science of law. I rise today to proudly nominate as a second my dear friend of over 20 years, sorority sister, and State Bar leader, standing for ready, Javon Hicks, to President-elect. Leadership in our bar, and I've had an up-close and personal experience in what bar leadership requirements are for our State Bar of Georgia, include, in my opinion, the following. Commitment to public service is defined by a dedication to fostering the principles of duty and service to the public. Advocacy. A successful State Bar leader must be a strong lobbying voice for members and advocate for appropriate funding for the justice system and addressing issues like access to justice. Ethics and integrity. Our leaders must have high moral standards of character, including honesty, candor, and a commitment to taking responsibility for actions to maintain the trust of the public and the bar she serves. Lastly, inclusivity and listening. Our bar members are far-ranging, various races, religions, sexual orientations, genders, levels of disability. We face all types of challenges in our profession, and we all require a voice and a position at the table. Effectively listening and developing solutions through cooperation and understanding the diverse needs of all members of our bar, including solo practitioners, big law firm lawyers, I know I'm done, government lawyers, large firms, plaintiffs, and defense attorneys alike. Javon possesses all of these qualities. R. Javon Hicks, the R stands for ready. I ask you to stand with me to support the nomination of R. Javon Hicks for President-elect of the State Bar of Georgia. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations for office of President-elect? Thank you. So we will move from nominations at this time, but per Article 7, Section 1, Nominations and Elections of the State Bar of Georgia's bylaws, nominations will remain open for 10 days after this meeting. And so that's your notice there, but that will conclude our nominations. Let's move now to legislation. And I'll call on this time for Rusty Sewell to come on an action item, the Advisory Committee on Legislation and New Legislative Proposals. And so let's welcome Rusty as he comes down.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also want to congratulate all the nominees coming from the Capitol this past week with all the fighting over Lieutenant Governor, Attorney General. It's nice for a quiet, election. It's totally different. And on that regard, I also want to know if Sergeant Harden can come with Mark and I and Roy down to the Capitol. Is he eligible to protect us down there? I think that would be a good thing. We have got two proposals today. The first deals with the Resource Center. This is something that I guess we have supported, or the Board of Governors have supported for the last 37 years. So I think it's something we enjoy and like. Last year, their budget was $900,000, moved up $100,000 from the $800,000 it had been for quite a while. This year, they are asking for an increase of $125,000, which will put a little over $1,025,000 in their budget request. It is supported by the Judicial Council. It is in their budget request, and what is in the budget document that the governor presented this past Wednesday or Thursday. I forgot, my mind went blank there for a second. This past Thursday. So it is there. We will, if y'all request us to, of course, our team, led by Jen McMahon, will support this proposal. Unless there are any questions, or I guess we've got a...
Okay, we actually have two votes that we need to take. But first, I'll ask, are there any questions about this proposal? So first, on supporting the Judicial Council's budget request for fiscal year 27, we need a Keller vote, and so we need poll question number 1, which is the ACL proposal support for the Judicial Council's budget request for fiscal year 2027 funding for the Georgia Resource Center as presented, germane to the scope and purposes of the bar? Only our members will vote. And the poll is open on the Keller question. Close the poll. Okay. The second question is, do you approve of the ACL's recommendation to support for Judicial Council's budget request for fiscal year 2027 funding for the Georgia Resource Center as presented? Is there a motion to approve this recommendation? Is there a second? I hear a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, let's put up the poll. Let's publish the poll result. Okay, thank you. And that motion passes. And so now, Rusty, the real property law section?
Yeah.
Expanding legal access to qualified special masters, and it's a bill to amend OCGA 23-363.
Yes. This is a proposal that came from the real property section of the bar to the ACL, and the ACL approved it, dealing, as the president has said, with special masters and quiet title actions. As you know, particularly if you practice in the real property section or area, the judge will appoint a special master in quiet title cases. Right now, he's limited, or he or she, the judge, is limited to the circuit where the property is or the action is. That's not been changed in, I guess, since 1966 when a total rewrite was done. And the problem is when you limit it to a circle, a couple of things. One, since 1966, we've added a number of circuits, and it gets tighter and tighter. 75% of the lawyers are in the metro area, so when you get out into the rural area of Georgia or the other areas of Georgia and South Georgia and North Georgia, it gets harder and harder to find people with the experience. And what the real property came with, and which was voted on unanimously by the ACL, was to expand this area so that the judge could appoint from the area of a federal district court. So basically, either northern, middle, or southern. And it gives a little more latitude, and nobody seems to be totally upset with that. But any questions?
Any questions on this proposed amendment? First, we're going to move on the Keller question. Is there a motion to determine that this is germane to the practice of law? Is there a second? Let's vote on the question. The first is the ACL proposal expanding legal access to the qualified special masters bill to amend OCGA 23-3-63 as presented, germane to the scope and purposes of the bar. We can publish the results. Thank you. Now I need a motion on the question, do you approve the ACL's recommendation to expanding legal access to qualified special masters bill to amend OCGA 23-3-63 as presented? Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. And we'll publish the result. Excellent. Thank you, Rusty.
Okay.
And now, Rusty, I'm joined by Mark for a legislative update.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.
Mark is going to come up here and he's going to tell you who the next governor is going to be. Also, the lieutenant governor. Do you want to raise your hand? That's what have everybody, and you do know all that, don't you? Come up here. He's going to tell you what we're facing now.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's good to see y'all. You know, Rusty and I have spent a good bit of time this first week just trying to get to meet some of the new people that are in the legislature. You know, one of the characteristics of an election year is that, unfortunately, good members like John, leave their seat in order to be able to campaign for higher office. And there's a number of special elections that have taken place over the past several months. We have some new members in the state house. Over in Athens, there was a special election that was held recently. Eric Gisler won that race. That was a seat that was vacated by Marcus Wiedauer. You saw that in the newspaper. It got some attention because that had been considered more of a Republican seat, and Eric won that seat as a Democrat. Similarly, over in Gwinnett, you had a new member, and then just the other day, Bill Finch won a special election up in Cherokee County. In State Senate, we have two new members, Jason Dickerson, who's from Canton, and Yaha Howard from this area, right around Smyrna. And as I mentioned, we have two they're still in progress down in the Senate 18th. There's an election on, general special election on Tuesday. I think there's 6 candidates in that race, and it's expected that I'll go into a runoff. And so, it'll be some days before that gets filled. And then just this past week, and this may be an applause line here, with the resignation of Marjorie Taylor Greene, her seat opened up, and the better part of 20 people qualified for that office, including a state senator from Northwest Georgia, Colton Moore. And so Colton's seat vacated by operation of law. So The Senate's down a couple of members right now, and as we get into the business of passing laws, that can become relevant as you get into some of these closer races that John could tell you. A lot of those votes are fairly close, and so you lose 2 members, that can be a real issue. In terms of people always ask, hey, how's this session going to go? And, there are a couple of indicators that we look at. One is just, what are the priorities of the leaders? And this past week, the governor had his State of the State message and also had a speech over at Eggs and Issues, as well as the speaker and lieutenant governor. And just a couple of things, and I think this feeds into the question of, what are people up to down at the Capitol and how does it get affected by an election year? You have 2 groups of people down there. You have a group of people that are doing some general election messaging. And so some of the things that Governor Kemp proposed, for example, a $300 million proposal to do a needs-based scholarship for higher education. That's something that people have been pushing for at least 10 years and probably longer, but I've been working on it for 10 years. That's something that has a very broad appeal. Similarly, he indicated that he was proposing $50 million for a homelessness program that his office had worked with Mayor Dickens, and that's something that we haven't seen at the state level. At the same time, you've got folks that are going to be running in a Republican primary talking about income tax elimination and other more kind of pocketbook type issues like that. So it's just interesting to see those 2 things will collide eventually. For example, the speaker in his remarks talked about a property tax relief, and in the Senate, and it's been reported, there's been a study committee formed, and there's some recommendations that they've come up with in regard to eliminating the income tax. Obviously, you do the math on that, you're not going to do both of those at the same time, so it'll be interesting to see how all that shakes out. In an election year, the conventional wisdom and we always try to set reasonable expectations, but sometimes these sessions can be productive, and this one might surprise you, and we get more done than you think. I mean, one of the things that we're taking a look at, and Rusty and I both worked on this in other capacities, but there's going to be a resolution to do a constitutional amendment to make all judges nonpartisan. It was a 2-step process. Last year, the enabling legislation was passed that allowed the magistrates to become nonpartisan. And then because the probate court is established in the Constitution, it requires a constitutional amendment. So, that requires a 2/3 vote in both the House and the Senate. And we're very hopeful that that'll take place. And I know the Chief Justice Boggs spoke to that last year at his State of the Judiciary, and I'm hopeful that the same will happen again this year. So we'll be in the back if there's any questions about this session, things that are going on, but we really appreciate it, and it's always an honor to be up here. We really appreciate the opportunity to be of service to y'all. Thank you.
And Mark, and certainly also Roy Robinson, who helps out. We really appreciate everything you do, and look forward to the progress we'll make during this legislative session. Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up on the legislative folks. Thank you so much for being here. I'm just here to make a plug, which is feel free to serve the state of Georgia and your country by being a member of the legislature and part of the leadership down at the Capitol, whether you're down lobbying for legislation or running for office at the state or federal level, or even at the local level. As many of you know, I served at the Capitol. I'm happy to talk to any of you about serving in any kind of position and how to run a campaign. I'm not an expert at all, but I do want to express to you that it's so important to have people down at the Capitol like us who are lawyers who can read legislation and understand what it means and understand the importance of commas and semicolons and what those actually mean in legislation. And we're laughing, but it's true. And I really want to express that to you. You have until March to qualify this year, so go look in the books, and if you really think you want to run for something, please do it. Do not be afraid, okay? And you're very, very smart. I know a lot of people underestimate themselves in this room, but I want to tell you, you are critical to the operation of this state and this country. And so I just want to make sure to tell you, please run for office, not only running for judgeships, which we've talked about, but also running to be state legislators, governors, president, you name it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Czar. And to build upon that appeal, allow me to call on Jessica Oglesby, who's our YLD director, but she's going to give us a brief update on the Gold Dome Track program and a big first meeting coming up, I think, this Tuesday.
Good morning. I have to stick to a script because if you met me, I will go off track, so bear with me. Good morning, Mr. President, officers, members of the Board of Governors, and guests. I want to share an update and invite you to participate in an initiative at the bar. At our fall meeting, Jim McNeely, who is unable to be with us, she is attending a family wedding in Chicago, discussed the concerning decline in the number of attorneys serving the Georgia legislature. This prompted many of you to ask how the State Bar can address this issue, leading to collaboration across departments. I am pleased to announce the launch of the Gold Dome Track, Answering the Call to the Capitol, a new program developed by the Government Affairs Department, the Young Lawyers Division, and Law Practice Management. This program aims to educate and support lawyers interested in public service, particularly in the Georgia General Assembly. Oh, it's up there, okay, great. The inaugural session is next Tuesday, January 20th at the Bar Center. Will include a fireside chat with former lawyer legislators, a panel discussion with current legislators, and a networking reception. It is designed for all lawyers, whether they are contemplating a run for office or simply want to understand the role of policymaking. This January program marks phase 1, intended to start the conversation and build awareness. Phase 2 is already in planning, and that's for February the 20th, where we'll offer practical guidance on campaign planning and managing your law practice while running for office. Registration is free, and I encourage you to sign up and share this opportunity with your colleagues. The State Bar acknowledges the vital role of lawyers in shaping policy. The Gold Dome Track is a step towards supporting the next generation of lawyer leaders. I thank you for your time and support, and I do hope to see you all next week for this inaugural program. I will be in the back if you have questions after today's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica, and this Gold Dome Track program is already off, I understand, to great start with registration. It's not too late. The first session is Tuesday. We look forward to the results and the influence that that program will have to increase lawyer legislators under the Gold Dome. So now we're at that point for our informational reports, and I will start with the President's report. And when I reported to you at our fall meeting, at Macklemore, I focused on the progress and vision of those 4 pillars that I identified as a focus for our bar year, which were improving bar operations, a focus on committee work, continued development of our emerging technologies, and that ever-important emphasis on promoting the rule of law. And with respect to our continued work in those areas in particular, with respect to our bar operations and bar center, you will receive a more robust update from our executive director when he brings his report this morning. But for my report today, I would like to focus on and highlight the progress of some of our committees and certain sections as we have reached the midpoint of our bar year. First topic of discussion, parking. Parking at the bar, yes, it's a vibe. Get your bar card and your ID. Parking. If you know, you know. That's enough about parking. Let's talk about committees. And let's start with the Solicitation Committee. Unless you've been under a rock, lack social media, do not read the AJC, or have no attorney friends to whom you speak, you probably heard that our Solicitations Committee kind of went off mission and was not able to stay on message for the last couple of months. And if you're in that small sample that knows not of what I speak, well, you probably can talk to me after the meeting and I can give you some updates on things probably other than solicitation. But as you may know, and I'm sure you do, the chair of our solicitation committee resigned and took to social media to deliver his message of dissatisfaction with the bar's efforts to combat illegal, improper client solicitation. I want this body to know that I agree with the former chair's concerns that runners and improper solicitation is a problem. We all agree on that. However, I disagree with the former chair's assertions that this bar is not engaged in addressing this issue and is not interested in addressing the problem. So here are the facts. First, I never had an opportunity to work out these concerns with our chair prior to his resignation. My desire would have been a more robust, not even more, just a robust discussion, an idea-led conversation about how to strengthen the committee. And we can still have that discussion among ourselves. Unfortunately, I only received notice of the resignation just minutes before that resignation went public on social media, and the corresponding concerns, once in the public sphere, did make it difficult for us to address those concerns and right the ship. So let me pause here with a special plea to the other committee chairs. If you have concerns, please bring them to me and provide me and the EC the opportunity to address them. I promise we're easy to talk to. As committee chairs, you are the board's eyes and ears on the ground for all the committee work that we are doing this year and that we will continue to do, that we've always done. So let's communicate, let's collaborate for the good of the bar and for the protection of the public. At least give us the chance to right the ship if you feel it is sailing off course. And more facts. This bar has never turned a blind eye to improper or illegal solicitation. In fact, the work to combat this practice lies with the office of our general counsel, and that office has been engaged in the fight, not just because this topic is in the news now, but regularly as part of their mission. So why do we not hear about the Office of General Counsel's work and what they are doing to combat what is an identifiable problem? We don't hear about it because their work is confidential. And we owe that obligation and confidence as they carry out their duty to make sure that we are protecting the public. We will maintain that integrity in their investigative and solutions process as we continue to combat improper solicitation. I will leave this topic by announcing that the Office of General Counsel will continue its work on solicitation, and we will be dedicating and directing additional resources to that office to combat and, as they prosecute for purposes of our rules, to combat and prosecute the bad actors. The committee is being reconstituted to focus more on educating the public and to bring awareness to the issue. But know that your bar, through the Office of General Counsel, continues their work, as they always have, to fight improper solicitation. Let's pivot to access to justice. Speaking of committees, I want to highlight the great work of our Access to Justice Committee and their recent work on a survey regarding pro bono services, and I appreciate everyone who participated in that survey. The Access to Justice Committee, led by Judge Ana Maria Martinez, commissioned this survey to gauge pro bono participation throughout the bar. And the results are in, they're being analyzed, and I anticipate that we will receive a full report on this survey soon. Please look for those emails, and perhaps we may get an in-person report. To further support that committee's work and to bring action on the survey, I anticipate that I will ask that committee to bring recommendations to the executive committee on what we can do as a bar to encourage and better improve upon pro bono services and access to justice. Taking our committee's work to action is one of the goals for this year. Likewise, I've been working with past President Dawn Jones, who serves as the current chair of Seeking Equal Justice Committee, to bring more of a focus to that committee's mission. And it is a unique mission, which is to encourage a study and report on the inequities of racial bias in the administration of justice. Dawn and I we've had some great conversations and had a great meeting yesterday. And the mission of that committee, that committee, which was created not too long ago, just a few years ago, is unique in that the mission itself calls for the committee to bring recommendations to the executive committee regarding policies and initiatives to eliminate racial bias and inequities in the practice of law and the administration of justice. Dawn is working very hard with her committee on those initiatives now, and my expectation is that their work will bear recommendations for the EC and board to consider. Again, our committees are fulfilling their stated purpose and their missions to improve our bar. We'll pivot to sections and other important developments since our last meeting. One big development has been with continuing legal education. In other updates, the court recently approved changes to our CLE requirements, and beginning this year, January 1st, the reporting requirement moves to biennial CLEs instead of the annual CLE requirement, and over those 2 years, attorneys are required to only have 18 hours of education, including 3 ethics hours and 2 professionalism hours. No longer will you have trial hours. We're in our education campaign now. You've probably seen some of the emails and you will see more. So please pay attention to that material on these CLE changes. Additionally, our Supreme Court recently approved the Senior Lawyers Division. This new division will be a great resource for our members, and the man behind that effort, President-elect Bill Gentry, will address you a little bit later in this meeting about that new division. We look forward to that report. And my final highlight with respect to sections came to me just this Thursday. And one of the privileges, honestly, the joys of being president is you get to stick your head in just about any meeting that's going on. You also get to take part in the social events as well, such as the receptions. But I did have the privilege of dropping in on the Military and Veterans Law Committee. And many of you may not know or see the work of this committee, but I did have the opportunity to fellowship with the committee members on Thursday afternoon, and led by its chair, Ed Piasta, the Military and Veterans Law Committee had a great meeting and work session on Veterans Administration benefits and what lawyers can do to help veterans, not just other lawyers, but veterans, get the benefits that they deserve. This work will allow attorneys to assist these veterans with all of their Veterans Administration needs. I was personally impressed with this program, but more impressed with the dedication that our bar members have shown to this effort. But let me share with you what impressed me the most on Thursday. During the committee reception after the meeting, I had the opportunity to meet Gerard. Gerard served 2 tours in Iraq. He served 2 tours in Afghanistan. He is a single father of 2 children, a high school young man, a middle school girl, and Gerard is a 2L at Mercer Law School. He made his way up here for that benefits meeting. It was easy. He was here. Why? Because he actually maintains a home in Atlanta where he resides and educates his children, but he travels from Atlanta to Macon every week on Monday to continue his law studies, and he returns home on Thursdays to be with his family. And he is already involved in the Military and Veterans Committee. I was impressed. I asked Gerard what he wanted to practice when he graduated from Mercer. He said his purpose after graduation is to help veterans with their legal needs. That's why he went to law school. My friends, that is our bar at work. That is why we do what we do. We help people. And Gerard's story and the work of the Military and Veterans Committee is today's best example of the power our committees and our sections bring to the public. So while the action items on today's agenda may be light, please know and rest assured that there is much action and progress being made in your bar, because the true work of the bar is not what we do in these meetings. Instead, it is the hard work and time spent by all of our lawyers affecting and impacting the public and our membership through our committees and through our sections. We have a lot going on, one block building upon another with a focus on protecting the public and building a stronger bar. So allow me to close with a fitting word of thanks to our executive committee members for their work and dedication to this bar. If all of you were in our EC meetings, you would witness the passion that this group has for this bar and the desire to make sure that we get it right. So to the executive committee, I appreciate all of you and thank you for your work and your support. Additionally, Damon, this train does not move without the hard work of you and your staff. Know that our bar staff is the engine, and right now we're hitting on all cylinders, and I appreciate everything that you and your staff do. And finally, a continued thank you to the court for their partnership, to our chief, the liaisons, Justice Bethel, Justice McMillan, to all of our court. The collaboration with the bar has been easy, and it's yielded great fruit, and we're getting things done together. And so I'll close with a quote from a legendary Rome City Commissioner who once opined, "Working together works." That's your president's report. And we'll now call on Treasurer Hicks for her report.
Good morning. So you will find the results of our budget on pages 47 to 63 in your board book. This reflects the information through the end of October 31st of 2025. Just as normal, is everything is following as planned. These first few months of a bar year are slow in activity, so we don't have much to add from when we last reported. Bar expenses are tracking very close to the expected expenses for the year. In summary, the following highlights of the 4 months ending in October 31st, starting on page 49, and the summary is 49 to 51. We budgeted, excluding the bar center, for a loss of $1,047,848. For the bar center operations, we budgeted a net loss of $27,025. If you see pages 47 and 48, there's a description of the line items that were more than $2,500 in expenses in excess of our budget. We list those out so that you can see the variances. Based upon the actual results through October, there are no significant negative surprises for the year. In the last 4 months, additional resources were utilized for the State Bar building in Atlanta. These improvements have included continued work on the electrical panel replacement. All this is the fun stuff. It's the fun stuff y'all don't get to see, but it keeps you safe. Continued work on renovations and tenant improvements. The tenant moved in during the middle of October of 2025. Yay, new tenant. Additional audiovisual capabilities have started in both the President's Boardroom and the YLD President's Boardroom. New hoist ropes for the elevators, so we know we need those. A new air handler motor, and pre-cooling and heating coils for the large air handlers. All of this behind-the-scenes work costs money, and thank you for your support of our budget that we have the money to do these things. The financials have been completed for the month of November, and there were no items of significant note. The audit of the financials for the year that ended June 30th, 2025 was completed, and if you would like to see a copy of that audit report, it is on the State Bar's website. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Javon. Martin, yes.
Yeah, President Trump, I just want to point out, y'all heard me for years and years and years, meeting after meeting, bang the drum about this $8 to $10 million surplus that we had, and that it was an issue that we needed to deal with and we had to do something about. And then we started doing something about it. And then we organized the money. We did an extensive study of the building, and it cost some money to do that, but to get a list of the stuff that needed to be fixed. And it's not exciting. When Javon reads that out, that's not exciting stuff, but it has to be done, and we're spending that money so wisely, y'all should be really proud. It's gone from 8 to 10 million down to 4 million, but all of that has been spent, well, not all of it, but the overwhelming majority has been spent fixing the building. The building is going to end up being the thing that saves your dues from going up. Once the building gets renovated and then we start renting all the space that's left, that's going to increase the bar center and make it such a moneymaker for us long-term to make the bar even that more healthy. So even though it's not exciting stuff, we finally turned our attention to it, we're doing it the right way, and it's working. I just want y'all to, you hear that and you think, oh, big deal, it's not that big a deal, but it is a huge deal. And a lot of the credit goes to Damon, Ron, and Sarah for staying on top of that and understanding all that stuff.
Thank you, Martin.
I don't want to say anything.
But you're on program.
I will say something, though, first. Martin, thank you. Thanks for that, and thanks to the executive committee, really, for the work that they've done to help us move in the right direction, but that's kind. Mr. Chief Justice, members of the court, members of the board, Lester Johnson, and other friends, I rise today to provide a brief update of operations for the bar year so far. At the midpoint of the bar year, the organization continues to operate from a position of strength and stability. While this is traditionally a quieter period on the calendar, post-holiday, pre-legislative session, and before our finance and executive committee meetings take place, activity across the bar remains consistent and healthy. As you've heard, most committees and sections and affiliated groups have now convened for substantive meetings, and many have already produced meaningful discussion and outcomes. What is most important is that all are meeting in alignment with President Twyman's initiatives that committees meet regularly and actively engage during the year. We look forward to seeing how this work develops in the second half of the bar year and through reports at our spring and our annual meetings. As you heard through the Treasurer's report, we remain on pace with the currently approved budget and financial plan. Expenses are tracking as expected, and there are no material issues or surprises to report at this time. We do continue to devote specific attention to bar center operations and leasing efforts, an additional point with Chris's 2025-2026 planning. This week, as a matter of fact, I provided an update to your bar center committee, including the existence of active proposals and LOIs for fourth floor space and the preparation and proposal of an LOI for sixth floor space. Our partnership with our current broker remains really strong, and we continue to receive warm interest in the building. As anticipated, the age of the facility and competition from newer properties present ongoing challenge, as does the need to make certain upfront investments to attract long-term tenants. Our flexibility in that regard has softened somewhat. That's the reference that Martin made about the depletion of the unallocated cash funds. And they are directed toward other priorities, many of which are tied to the building. But our work will continue with careful planning and oversight. You did hear mention of the parking deck, and work continues there too. We've actually explored a new partnership with a parking vendor that will provide many additional benefits, including improved technologies, perhaps better member experience, and perhaps increased revenue through dynamic pricing and other changes in the revenue and the expense split with the new partner. But there's more to come about that. It's still a little premature. Our work right now is finalizing the upcoming budget cycle, and we'll be bringing additional recommendations to the finance and the executive committees as early as next week. Finance is next week. Our recommendation will have no surprises, but will include an investment in resources for the work designed to improve the quality of legal services, for the work with our major activity focused on lawyer regulation and discipline, and for the work making the bar better overall. We are also closely monitoring the legislative session and remain grateful for the continued partnership and coordination with our legislative team. You've already heard the report there. As for me, I remain proud of the work being done across the organization and grateful for the collaboration with many of our stakeholders, including the court, our court liaisons, current and past, the executive committee, and all of you as part of our board of governors. Those partners continue to strengthen the profession and position the Georgia Bar as a national leader amongst other bar organizations. More comprehensive reports will be provided by me in March, probably data related to expenses and unallocated cash investments in budget, and June as part of our annual reporting. But in the meantime, I'm always available to answer questions and welcome visits. I also encourage continued engagement from you through mentoring of our younger lawyers, contributing to the journal. Send in some features, we'd appreciate that, and supporting the efforts to enhance the quality of legal services statewide. Mr. President, I'll take questions, but I do thank you all for your attention. Questions? Okay, I'll sit down. Thank you.
Thank you, Damon. And now our YLD report. President Cox.
Thank you, President Twyman. Good morning. It is still morning. Hang in there. First and foremost, I have the pleasure of introducing the 20th year of Leadership Academy. Will the class of 2026 please stand? Now, congratulations, you guys. Stay standing. Okay, I know we lost a couple of y'all as the meeting went on, but I want you all to take a good look at this group of people. These are your future leaders, current leaders. These are going to be future chairs, future presidents of the bar. They're joining the ranks of 900 alumni of judges and lawyers across the state. And it's a truly talented group. We're really excited to have them. Please introduce yourselves to them, bring them into your committee, volunteer them to do things. That's what they're here for. They want to meet you too. So thank you all so much. Congratulations. We're excited. This is your first session, so y'all will see a lot more of them as the year goes on. So thank you guys. You can sit down. All right, will y'all bring up the slides? Okay, so the YLD has been busy. We have had over 20 events so far this year, which includes CLEs, service projects, and networking events. And 20 events is a lot, especially in the fall. We are much more busy, we're busier in the spring usually and much more active. So I'm really excited about what the spring holds for us. I wanted to bring up a couple of particular events. So top left is the YLD Solo Practice and Small Firm Committee. They did a Hustle to Hands-On CLE. Top right is the Women in the Profession Committee. They went to the Ronald McDonald House and did some service there. Bottom left is the YLD Child Protection and Advocacy Committee and YLD Community Service Projects Committee. They did a empty stocking fund gift packing service project. And then the bottom right, we had our annual Leadership Academy holiday luncheon and a Toys for Tots drive. And so those were all wonderful events, just a few I wanted to highlight. I also wanted to put in a plug for our social media. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. If you like seeing our events or if you'd like to come to our events, please follow us on social media. You know, the YLD is known as being the service arm of the bar. And that is it's not just the service arm of the YLD. We are the service arm of the bar. We do stuff for everyone. You can come to any of our CLEs. You can come to any of our events. You do not have to be a member of the YLD, and we encourage you to do that. If you'll go to the next slide, please. Speaking of fun events that anyone can participate in, YLD is going to be having kickball tournaments. Our annual kickball tournament will be back this year. We're hoping to get like a SLD-YLD rivalry. But we encourage Leadership Academy alumni to come. Our Leadership Academy will be there at the Savannah one in March. But then we'll also be coming here to Atlanta at Oakhurst Park in Decatur. So if you're interested in playing, if you want to come as a spectator, I know Damon Elmore will be there at both of them. And it's a really entertaining, fun afternoon. So please come, bring your family and friends. You don't have to be just a member of the bar to attend. You can sign up on our website, and again, go to our social media to find more information. Next slide, please. All right, I am really pleased to announce that the YLD podcast is back for a limited series. It's a 6-episode series. The first episode is out now featuring Scott Wilkinson. He is in-house counsel for the Hawks. It's a really entertaining episode. I know Justice Bethel is going to be listening. But Bert Hummel and Ron Daniels, our very own Wild Ears for Life, past presidents, are our hosts, and they put together some really great material, very entertaining, very educational and informative. So please go take a listen. Just wanted to plug that there. Next slide. All right, what I'm really here for is to plug the YLD Signature Fundraiser. It'll be in February 28th down in Macon at the Old Armory Ballroom. It's now called the Overlook on First. We are benefiting Middle Georgia Justice this year. They really need our help. Judge Adams came to our general session yesterday, and in his words, he groveled. And so we just, we recognize the need, and we want to be able to support them. So please buy tickets, sponsor. There's a QR code up there now. If you haven't already bought tickets or sponsored, please scan it now. But I want to see some phones go up. And do so. If you can't come because it's in Macon or because you have a conflict, please just get tickets anyways, and you can donate them, or the money will at least go to the cause. If you'll go to the next page, the QR code again, and we will be handing out awards to Rebecca Greist for our YLD Lifetime Achievement Award. And our YLD Signature Service Award will be going to James Banter. These two individuals are dedicated to service to the bar and the community, and so we're really excited to celebrate them at the Signature Fundraiser. Lastly, I wanted to say, and I'll leave that QR code up, you all can scan it as I'm talking. I wanted to plug our spring meeting is in Asheville. It's going to be April 26th through 28th. You're all welcome to attend. We'll be networking with the North Carolina YLD and doing a pro bono power hour followed by a reception at Burial Brewery. We'll also have a hands-on service project with Leadership Academy as well. So please join us if you are able. And finally, I want to thank our YLD review editors and contributors for our truly high-quality issues. Carlos printed out for all of our authors this year a physical copy of the YLD review, which is, I think, really special. But it's truly high-quality writing, and I encourage you all to go take a read. So that is all for my YLD President's Report. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Veronica, and we really appreciate everything that YLD continues to do and their great involvement with the bar. Before I call on Carlise to come up, I do want to take the opportunity to recognize Chief Justice Nels Peterson, and I'm going to ask him to come up to make a few remarks. And I'll tell you that you may know that as of January 1st, there was a reorganization, if you will, regarding the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism for the purpose of bringing more alignment between the commission and the bar. And so now CJCP will be managed, if you will, as an arm of the bar, but the commission will continue its great work. And so, Mr. Chief Justice, if you'll speak a little bit about the vision and that reorganization, we'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. President. When President Twyman called me several days ago and asked me if I would speak briefly. I said, well, you realize that means I'm going to have to put on a tie. And he promised me I could lose the tie when I was done. So professionalism has been a key focus of the court and the bar for decades. And Georgia has really been a national leader in focusing on professionalism. We are very proud of that tradition and the work and the continuing efforts going forward. And one indicator of that you see is as we adjust CLE and reduce total hours required, we kept all of the professionalism requirements that previously existed and actually increased the ethics requirements by 50%. It is useful every now and then to remind ourselves what professionalism is. And there's really two components in the ethics and professionalism space. There's ethics. Ethics is the absolute minimum required of every Georgia lawyer. It is the Georgia rules of professional conduct, and a violation of those rules, a falling short of the standard imposed by those rules, subjects a Georgia lawyer to discipline. Professionalism is everything above that minimum requirement. Professionalism is what we expect of every good lawyer. And we should hope and we should expect that every Georgia lawyer wants to be a good lawyer. And there are many things that go into that and that have been our focus over the years. The way lawyers treat each other, the way lawyers engage more broadly in the community, the kinds of service that we engage in, wellness, a variety and range of things. And all of those remain critically important components of professionalism. But there is one thing that historically has not been a key focus that we have focused on in the context of professionalism that I want us to add as we move forward into this bar year. And that is that the core of what we expect of every good Georgia lawyer is to protect and defend the rule of law. Because without the rule of law, lawyers are just overpaid marketers, and judges are playing dress up. That's just true, because the rule of law is the only thing that makes lawyering and judging meaningful. And there have been few times in the history of our country where the rule of law is starting to lose its deep civilizational commitment, just in the public at large. And I really want all 55,000 Georgia lawyers to take a renewed focus on protecting and defending the rule of law. And just a quick definition of what I mean by that. The rule of law means that no person is above the law's requirements or beneath its protections. It includes judicial independence, and it includes, on the part of lawyers, a defense of judges when they rule, when they are publicly criticized. We get things wrong, even the Supreme Court, we get things wrong. It is okay to criticize judges for getting things wrong, but it is not okay to undermine the institution of the courts as illegitimate just because you don't like judicial rulings. And judges, by the nature of the Code of Judicial Conduct, are often limited in the ways that they can defend themselves, if at all. And so it really is the role of lawyers to come along and defend the system when the system's integrity and the system's legitimacy is attacked. And so part of why I am so excited about this strategic, significant move of the Commission of Professionalism to become fully integrated within the bar and fully engaged in all that the bar does is really to create a whole of the bar effort and focus on preserving and defending the rule of law. And obviously, when you're in a mandatory bar, there are things that come immediately to mind for many of us that we would like to do in that effort that a mandatory bar perhaps can't do. And we have a number of voluntary bars and other voluntary organizations and associations of lawyers that have really started to focus on this, and I appreciate their work. But it is time for the mandatory bar to really take this focus on protecting and defending the rule of law and to integrate it fully throughout all that the bar does. And I really appreciate the leadership of President Twyman and Damon as we've talked about this shift. And I really appreciate the leadership of Carlise Greer as we've talked about this shift and really expanding the reach of the commission into everything that the bar does. And so I am excited about that. I'm excited about the days ahead. I know this is a transition. I don't fully know what all of this will look like, but I think the history of the commission is too valuable to not fully integrate its activities and its focus throughout the entire bar and to reach all 55,000 lawyers in Georgia. So I'm excited about the future. I'm excited about this move. And I'm excited as Georgia lawyers come together to focus on protecting and defending the rule of law. And I hope you will all work with us in support of that effort. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief, for those comments and for that vision. And with that, we'll now ask Carlise Greer to come with her report on the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism.
Is there a clicker, or you're going to do it? Or do? Good morning. My name is Carlise Greer. I'm the Executive Director for the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism. I am happy to be with you all here today. And this is a photograph of our current commission members. As you just heard, the chair of our commission is Chief Justice Nels Peterson. I've had the privilege of serving under 5 chiefs, now including Justice Peterson, Justice Hines, Justice Melton, Justice Namias, and Justice Boggs. Thank you to the chief for sharing with me his vision about the commission for going forward. He mentioned it, I think, to our commission at our October meeting. There has not been a chance for us as a commission to talk about how that vision will carry forward, so this report won't include that. But thank you, Chief, for sharing those thoughts. I want to start with the Benham Awards. As you know, that's been an annual historic program of the commission. We're getting ready for our 26th year of the Benham Awards. The Supreme Court has asked that we move that event, which has traditionally been an evening event, to 11 o'clock, so please note the time change. I want to thank our 2 current sponsors who are on board with us, who approached us early to ask to help. Greenbrook Charg as our diamond sponsor, and Ann Bart Bishop as a patron sponsor. Both of the individuals, Jeff Smith with Greenberg and Ann Bart Bishop, are previous award recipients, and I appreciate their ongoing support. I want to let you all know who our current recipients will be for 2026. For our district award winners, we are honoring Frank Sonny Sealer posthumously out of Savannah. It's easier for me to Judge Willie Lockett from Albany. These are our district award winners. Alyssa Bascom from Decatur. Dorothy Doty Sykes out of Beaufort, Georgia. Joseph Alonzo and Alina Lee are District 5 recipients from the Atlanta area. And Mr. Virgil L. Adams is our Lifetime Achievement Award winner from Macon. So I hope you all will join us on April 14th at 11 o'clock at the Nathan Deal Judicial Center to help us honor these folks who are active in our communities and help people beyond just the legal profession understand the importance and the value of the lawyers and what they do. I want to take a moment to thank all of those who are helping me with the planning of this event. Michael Hobbs, one of our former board members, was our selection committee chair, and LaToya Williams and Dave Pauley are the co-chairs of the planning committee. And I also want to thank our fundraising partner, the Georgia Legal History Foundation. Of course, you all know John Bell, who is a member of this body, and Gregory Smith, who is our liaison with GLHF. All right, some of what we are doing on the commission. In February of 2025, we did a live webinar on thoughts on professionalism with Tom Sampson, who has since passed. It was an interview by retired Judge Herbert Phipps. Because we run our programming with these webinars, a lot of it, most of it for free, there really isn't an infrastructure for on-demand programming to keep the costs down. And we've had that request, and it's been hard to do. But this year, for the first time, with the help of Dee Dee Warley, who I really want to give a shout out to, we've tried something new. So we're offering this video, Thoughts on Living and Practicing with Professionalism. We started doing this in November, December, offering it on demand because Dee Dee's department, CCLC, is helping with the CLE reporting requirement piece. And so if you are still looking for a professionalism hour, we will make this program available through March 31st. No registration fee. You will have to pay the attendant CCLC of $4. And I have put a link on the website for this program so that if there are any attorneys who need that professionalism CLE credit and are looking for an on-demand option at no registration fee cost, this is now available. And I know I have at least one person in the room, I think, that's taken advantage of this. So I encourage you to watch it if you have not. I also want to let you know that I am available to assist with your CLE programming. This photo is from the adoption law seminar that I helped to plan and present at in November as part of what I do and what I do to help serve you. In addition, the professionalism page articles that are in every issue of the Bar Journal Bar Journal are available to you to help supplement your professionalism written material CLEs. So please take advantage of that. Ways to stay up to date with us for upcoming programs include our events page. Since 2000, between 2000 and 2005, the commission, sometimes on its own and sometimes as part of staffing the State Bar of Georgia Committee on Professionalism, has presented 30 CLEs to you. Most of those have been virtual, free to attend CLEs. And over that time, we have reported CLE credit for 23,368 attendees. So that may not be unique lawyers because some of you attend more than one of our programs. But I want to give you an idea of the impact of the work of the commission and what we have tried to do to promote professionalism within Georgia. As part of our role, we also staff the State Bar of Georgia Committee on Professionalism, and that committee is chaired by Carlos Villela with Berea Waters out of Savannah as the vice chair. And some of the program that they are working on, Law Day. The photos that you see are from Law Day 2025. Jeff Hansen out of Macon is one of our current commission members, and he presented at an elementary school for Law Day in 2025. Next to him is Sharif Jones. She's an attorney with the Fulton County Juvenile Court. Juvenile court went to Dunbar Elementary School, right down the street from the court, to do a mock trial. Next, you'll see in the photo below Stephanie Burton out of the 8th Judicial Circuit, who spoke to the Student Government Association at one of the elementary schools in her area. And then below that is Kimberly Alexander, judge in DeKalb County, who invited students to her courtroom, as well as other DeKalb County professionals, the clerk, the sheriff, to talk with them about the legal system and the legal profession for Law Day of 2025. Law Day 2026, the theme is the rule of law and the American dream, kind of dovetailing on what the chief has talked about, in combination with the State Bar of Georgia Committee on Professionalism and the Local and Voluntary Bar Association. We invite you to do something in your community. For me, it was easiest to arrange a Law Day program with my church. Kenny Mitchell was our moderator for that. I don't have that photo up here. But I show these variety of projects because there are a lot of different ways that lawyers can get into the community and talk about the legal system. And Law Day presents a great opportunity. Law Day is typically observed on May 1st, but you can do these programs throughout the month of May. The QR code lets you go and sign up and let us know what you'll be doing in your community. And I encourage you to join with communities and talk about Law Day. We also have a pilot project that's going on. We did a social media contest last year with Newton County High School. The pilot project has been extended this year to 2 schools, Newton County and 1 in Dodge, 8th Judicial Circuit, Dodge County, if I'm remembering correctly, because we're trying to figure out how to scale that up. Marlon Eller is taking the lead on that, and our education partners have been meeting, and I look forward to telling you all more about that at the spring meeting. The State Bar Committee Speakers and Writers Bureau, I think Kevin Patrick is in the room, one of our co-chairs, along with Michael Perez, creates programming, CLE programming. The next program that we have coming up will be in February. We are still in the process of planning that. Paul Nam, who is one of our new State Bar of Georgia committee members, is chairing that program. On the panel, and he'll also serve as moderator, is Stephanie Driggers with UPS, Deputy General Counsel, Angus Haig, who is General Counsel of JAS, Jonathan Lippert, who is General Counsel at Porsche, and Professor Nancy Rappaport, a professor from the University of Nevada, will be our panelists. We are still in the process of doing some programming around that. So I have the web page up where registration will eventually be available on the Commission's website, and we'll be talking about artificial intelligence, innovation without regulation. The focus is for our transactional lawyers because we have not recently done programming geared toward that space. And so we've heard that request and we're trying to honor it. I also want to talk about the Connect with a Colleague contest, and as part of this, I'm going to take a brief moment of personal privilege. So the Connect with a Colleague contest will run March 1st through April 30th, 2026. And the idea is to work with a colleague that you have never had a social interaction with, preferably someone on the other side of a case, to get them to know them better as a lawyer. The photo you see are the winners from the contest last year: Stephanie Cobbage, Karen Scott, and Anthony DeSink. And while it may not seem like an important aspect of professionalism, speaking from a personal point of view, I can tell you that having colleagues that you have relationship with can help not only our clients, not only the public, the court, the profession. It can help you personally, individually as well. As most of you can see, I don't look the way that I have in the past. That's because I had a personal health challenge, and 3 of the folks that I had to reach out to most immediately when I found out that I was going to face this challenge and have an illness that I can recover from. I want to make that clear. I do have a serious illness that I can recover from, and I am working to recover from it. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your good wishes. But I had surgery on September 11th, and I was scheduled to be on a solo and small firm panel on September 18th, and so of course I could not do that. One of the first persons I called was an attorney that when I practiced family law for 18 years, was an opposing counsel on several of my cases, and I was able to do that because of the professionalism and the relationships that we had built outside of being adversaries on cases. Two of the folks at the hospital with me, one I met because I represented a family member of hers. I was an attorney for her family member, and out of that representation, a relationship grew with another attorney beyond the representation. All of that is because of professionalism. The second person that came with me to the hospital, I knew through bar work. Say, hey, Don. From working in various bar associations. And so in striving to conduct myself with professionalism over the years, I never had any idea that it would at some point support me. And so connecting with colleagues, it is good for our clients, it is good for our profession, it's good for the courts, but it can unexpectedly bless you as well. And so I invite you to join me in March, and you may win some fun prizes as a result of it, but you may get many, many benefits and blessings from talking with someone sitting down with someone that you may not ever have dreamed of doing so. So I encourage you to engage in these professionalism initiatives for the benefit of the public, of our clients, and incidentally, you may be blessed as well. Stay in touch with us. During this challenging period, I have not kept our social medias up to date as I would like, but we are there. I'm hoping to get it back up and running. Our website has information about everything I've talked about, and I look forward to working with you, the commission, and the bar on promoting the rule of law and professionalism in our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlise. Our last informational report will come from the Administrative Office of the Courts. So let's welcome Ben Luke, the Chief Technology Officer, to come with a demonstration on content management systems. Ben has some fans in the room, apparently, in the back row.
Well, good morning. Damon has just counseled me that I need to keep this under 2 hours, and I have promised that I'm going to try really hard to do exactly that. Really quickly, my name is Ben Luke. I'm the Chief Technology Officer here on behalf of the great state of Georgia's Judicial Council and Administrative Office of the Courts. That's a mouthful. We're the judicial branch. Before I talk to you about this generationally transformative project that is going to fundamentally reshape the way y'all interact with cases in the justice system in general, I'd like to offer my colleagues an opportunity to come up and introduce themselves.
Good morning. It's great to be with you. I'm Noelle Alvarez. I work for the Judicial Council, Administrative Office of the Courts. I serve as Division Director for Communications, Children, Families, and the Courts. The AOC is deeply committed to collaboration statewide, generally, and certainly with this project. By way of example, we were just yesterday with the Council of Municipal Court Judges. We're here with you today. Next week, we'll be out with the Council of Superior Court Judges, and the list goes on and on. The AOC is also well known for saying, call on us anytime. And I encourage you to do just that. Please call on me personally anytime if I can be of help. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sean Golan. I am the program manager for the statewide CMS project of the Judicial Council's Administrative Office of the Courts. I'm also an attorney here in the state, and the AOC called on me, and I answered, so that's how I found myself at the helm of, yes, this landscape and transformative once-in-a-lifetime project for this state, and I'm honored to be helping lead it.
Good morning. I'm Bharath Parthasarathi. I'm a proud member of the bar in the current role here alongside our friends at AWS, which underpins a lot of the infrastructure for many of the judiciary and agencies around both the state and the country. I lead Slalom, which is helping build the actual product. If you've used a Coke Freestyle machine today or over the last couple days, if you've used the Starbucks app, if you use the Regions mobile banking app, our team built that. And my fun fact is I spent my whole life wishing I could be introduced like Bert at 6'7", and life did not come my way, so.
All right, well, I was not speaking in hyperbole. Before we dig into what this project is, I want to tell you why this project is, and it's probably repeat information to the folks in this room, but indulge me, I'll be succinct. It is strange to say out loud, there are more than 1,080 courts in the state of Georgia. It is also no surprise that many of them don't talk to each other. Many of them are disconnected. If you practice in multiple circuits or multiple jurisdictions, you're managing separate logins, you're paying separate fee structures, you're doing business 15 different ways to interact with the state's judiciary. That has put us in a position as such a progressive state when it comes to technology and many other areas in the year 2026, to have judges on the bench making bond and public safety decisions without knowing what the cases in the neighboring county look like, to have broken criminal histories because we can't accurately and timely report court case dispositions to GBI and GCIC. It has put us in this untenable position where you have to do a mini research project just to understand how and when to interact with your case in front of a court. So that's why we're here today, because we've got a lot of catching up to do in terms of judicial branch technology, and a lot of stars have aligned for us to be here in front of you talking about what I mean is a generationally transformative project to make those things I just said not true. And I want to keep you all interested and not bury the lead, so show of hands, how many of y'all have a positive experience filing a leave of absence? We're going to make that better. So let me turn it over to BP to walk you through a little bit of how we got here, what we're doing, and where we're going to be in the next year. So, BP?
Great. Just press this forward. Awesome. So as Ben mentioned, a lot of the stakeholders sort of aligned around this project around some big themes that we're here. We're really treating this not as a statewide or judiciary technology project, but as Ben mentioned, a generational chance to sort of impact outcomes. And really leading that is bringing information together to really improve public safety outcomes all across the state. As Ben mentioned, making sure information is collected, better data-driven decision-making can be done, and as well as to protect the judiciary's technology infrastructure, really leading with security first. We know across the country, the judiciary's systems have been targeted repeatedly by bad actors and cyber threats. We're going to sort of solve that here today. The other piece is that what is really transformational about this project is this is the state's system, the judiciary system. This isn't a vendor to us and payments for the next 100 years. This is the state owning the system, so the ability to improve, to listen to you all, to build and scale all across the state. And so what happened as we went through the start of 2025 was a true discovery project. And rather than getting and reading the slide, the big takeaway is that we have been building alongside you all across the state of Georgia. Our teams, the AWS teams, the AOC, have partnered with folks all across the state to actually listen to the pain points and challenges that you all have, right? Ben's mentioned one about leave of absences, but there's a variety of other pain points that people have had, switching between systems in clerks' offices, the bench not being able to find the information they need about the people who are in front of them day to day, and making sure that our courthouses and courtrooms run efficiently. And so that really process, just like our legal discovery, was really finding everything we could about how our 5 classifications of court that we're focused on run day to day. And so then we started building this system, and over the last 9 months in 2025, what we were really doing is building iteratively alongside our judicial partners. In every step along the way, we've had judges and clerks and court administrators of the private bar all working alongside us to make sure we get it right. How are we building a system from scratch that could actually make sure to align with how every single person uses the system? So really getting that feedback as we went. We are working with 27 courts as of right now to actually, how would this work in practice? How would we make sure that the data comes over as it needs to? How do we make sure that there's no drop in efficiency in operations if this system goes live, right? So that's an important piece. I think it's also really important, just like we're committed to this morning, is this we're trying to make sure is the most transparent statewide project that's ever been done. So we've been working week to week to do weekly roundtables, which we'll talk about in a bit, to actually show how this is working, to give people a sense of how their experience will be. How are these features and functionalities built? How will they work in practice? And we'll talk about that in a little bit. We've also done presentations all across the state. As Noel mentioned, as we're here this morning, we are committed to making sure that every member of the bar, every member of the judiciary knows about this project, how it will work, and how it will transform how they practice in this state. And so where we are today, we've launched the initial release of the product already. What we're doing over 2026 is now being focused around 4 different work streams. So the first is continuing to add enhancements to the system, which we'll talk about in a sec. Making sure with the 27 courts that we're partnered with that we have a full understanding of their data. We've heard from you all, from members of the bench, of failed projects all across the state over the last decade, where folks now can't get their records from the last few years, or paper records have gone and been destroyed, whether weather events or other courtroom situations. So we are committed to making sure that the data and information that's needed to make the right decisions are in people's hands. The other piece is that we're already working with users all across the state about training and how this would get implemented, working with clerks' offices, court administrators, private bar, et cetera. How will this work for them? And then again, this final piece of making sure people know about this project and keep it on their radar. And so we're bringing it all together now into one seamless experience. These 11 sort of features and functionalities, there's lots behind it, have really come from you all and your peers all across the state to telling us what they need and how it will work for them more efficiently. And so we're also, as we do, taking a very thoughtful approach of how we're going to implement this all across those 27 that were talked about and how to create a roadmap to bring others down the line in the future. That's going to occur over the spring and as we head to the summer. Then how we're sort of staying connected, right? We're in a variety of ways. We'll follow the trend of a QR code in a little bit, but we have different ways for people to learn what's going on. We have email listservs, program websites. We've got the weekly roundtables. We're going to professional associations. If you represent a voluntary bar across the state that has meetings or young lawyer divisions, et cetera, we will show up wherever you ask us to around the state to make sure you and your colleagues know what's going on. And so one of the things as attorneys that we've heard, for anyone from the private bar, there is this real life belief it is difficult to access case information. There's multiple systems, especially if you're an attorney that works all across the state, multi-jurisdictionally. There's different systems, different logins, different ways to collect information. How can we solve for that? There is this ability to do bulk processing, right? We've talked about leaves of absence. Probably the one thing, my wife's a member of the bar as well. She has told me if I don't include that feature, we're going to be on rocky terms. So, you know, there are things, conflict notices, getting notices from a court, right? A court has a situation, maybe it has a weather event or others. How do we get information to members practicing in front of them quicker? A lot of repetitive processes. You and your teams, the other things we're trying to keep in mind, many of our paralegals, our office staff, how do we make sure that they know what's going on since they're such an important part of all of our practices? And then just too many systems to keep track of. And so what we're doing is really simplified electronic filing and true electronic filing. How to make our members of the bar administrative burden isn't what folks should be practicing day in and day out. We should be focusing on the highest and best use of our practices, and so how do we do that? How do we get faster access to case information, right? The clock starts ticking. How do we make sure that our practices, our offices, have the most efficient way to handle our cases and document? We've talked about bulk noticing, post notification, and then overall cost savings, right? We know all across the state, we've heard you and your peers talk about, if you file across multiple different e-filing platforms, et cetera, there are costs and fees associated. How do we bring that cost down? And so just to give a little quick preview of what this is starting to look like, we have, very similar to the folks who have worked on things like the Starbucks app, the Coke Freestyle machine, we have our best designers to really bring in. And the high-level pieces, every piece has been thought through alongside members of the bar and the bench to really think about how do we bring the most relevant information to you all up front in your system. So we're just showing illustrative. There'll be different screens for the private bar versus the bench, et cetera. But just to kind of give you a sense of how this is starting to come together. Easy navigation, putting notices, putting the high-touch items up front, putting things that have approaching deadlines up front so that people can, again, make the best use of their practice day in and day out. Calendaring and scheduling for members of the bench have been intimately involved. How do we make sure, again, people know what's going on in their courtrooms and courthouses all across the state of Georgia? How do we create easy dockets, easy schedule, make sure that those folks who need to know information in a courtroom and courthouse across the state know what's going on and where to appear? And then finally, again, QR fun, just like everyone else, though it's not as good as my friend Scott Wilkinson's podcast. But we are committed, again, to telling you what's going on this project. If you scan the QR code or go to the website below, that is your ability to get program updates, email updates, get involved with the program as we're starting to build it, and then watch past episodes of the weekly roundtable. We did one specifically for the private bar. We've done specific ones for the judges. We've also had those features and functionalities. You can actually see working code and how this is working in particular. And those are our 3 upcoming weekly roundtables. We're the same bat channel, same bat time, Friday at 9:30 every week. We would love to see you there, but if you can't make it, you and your offices and teams can actually watch those episodes and get those as they come up. And so with that, I will happily turn over to you.
Thank you, BP. So I do want to encourage everyone, if you haven't heard of this project before, please check out our website. And I want to thank Slalom and just recognize how light speed this project has gone. And there are few government projects that can say that they are on time and on budget. And I'm proud to say that this project actually is one of those, and that we are one of the most transparent projects in the entire state. And so that's the way that we're not just changing the landscape of justice in Georgia, but we're changing the landscape of how AOC does things as well. And so we are taking a really broad approach to this to really work alongside and transform and improve the ecosystem of justice in Georgia, to maintain the rule of law and support that. And so if you have ideas, if you have questions, if you've got concerns, you can reach us there. You can log on every Friday at 9:30 and ask a question in a public forum, and we will have answers, or if we don't, we will research them. So please get involved, please let us know, and we're very excited to help solve a lot of long-standing problems here in the state. Thank you very much.
And I will very quickly bring us home. The vision for this project is one pane of glass for you to interact with the state's judiciary. No more juggling systems, no more 10 logins, 10 platforms to initiate and enter documents into a case, 10 different fee structures, one system owned by the people who use this system. No vendor will ever be able to turn the lights out on Georgia administering justice. We will not have to compete for features and functionality based on what is profitable. This is a public good project here to make doing business with Georgia's judiciary better. It has been an honor and a privilege to stand in front of you today, and like your president said, working together works. We want to work together with you. Do we have time for questions? Yeah. Sure. Yes, sir. It is actively deploying into Georgia courts right now. So we launched a minimum viable product at the end of calendar year 2025, and we're onboarding those first 27 courts that BP talked about today. So it's somewhat ready now, but we're going to spend the whole rest of the year and the rest of the project making it better.
Any other questions?
All right. Thank you all very much.
Ben, thank you. And thank you to the team at AOC for this update on a very promising case management system. And a big thank you to Virginia Josie and Kendall Browning-Rickle, who sit on all of those calls on behalf of the State Bar for this case management project. So thank you to our representatives as well. I do commend for your reading those reports starting on page 83 of your board book, the Law Practice Management Report, the ICLE report, and the media report. And as we enter the close of this meeting, allow me to call on President-elect Bill Gentry under Old Business to give some brief remarks on the Senior Lawyers Division. Somebody got it.
Pun intended. Okay, I got it. Good morning. I will be brief. Last June, I stood in front of you and urged you to consider and vote in favor of creating a senior lawyer division for the State Bar. You overwhelmingly voted for it. The final step in creating it was approval by the Supreme Court. And on December 19th, we got the order from the Supreme Court saying, yes, you got a senior lawyer division. So our mission is to help not just older lawyers, but younger lawyers as they get older, help you plan for financially, to plan for retirement, plan for the things you're going to do. But with older lawyers, create social opportunities for them to get together like we did last evening. We had a robust crowd show up last evening at 4 o'clock. Well, you know, we had to get people to their 5 o'clock dinner dates, right?
5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so there are 12,500 people 55 and over in this state who are lawyers, actively practicing lawyers. That's 30% of the 43,000 actively practicing lawyers. If you're not in that group yet, hopefully you will be at some point in the future. That's why this is important for everybody in this room. So, we did a listening tour over 5 years, dozens of Zoom meetings to hear what was important for everybody in this room. And in addition to your 10% off senior specials, there's lots of other things that are very important. But we want to make practicing as you get older more, we want to educate folks on how to save money for retirement. So if you want to keep practicing in your 70s and 80s, you can, but you don't have to put food on the table. So these are a lot of the things, to facilitate coordination and cooperation between older lawyers and the younger lawyers division. There's just so many things. Now is the time to turn this vision into reality. I'm not going to give you a long speech. I know it's, I'm what stands between you and lunch. If you're old, you're really having lunch at 10:30 or 11.
It's already late.
He's not even that old. But I want to thank a few people who've really, really gone to bat for this thing. My good friend Howard DeLashman over here, Terry Miller over here, Jim Hogan, I don't know that he's here, Tom Schroeder, Bill Neesmith, Damon, Chris, Chief Justice Peterson, our liaisons, Justice McMillan, Justice Bethel, and the rest of the folks on the court. All of these people have played an integral role in making this happen. So I'm going to close with thank you. Thank you very much.
Is Betsy Hodges still here? Yes, Betsy, if you'll come forward.
Thank you. I'll be brief, but I just want to let everyone know I have had the honor of working with Bill Gentry for the past 4 or 5 months on the working group to create the Senior Lawyer Division. However, I've learned from Jim Hogan and many others that this has been a dream of Bill's for years, 4 or 5 years, I don't know, but he's worked really tirelessly. And so the State Bar is presenting to Bill, I'm going to take off my glasses. I'm the opposite of most lawyers, older lawyers. I can't see far, but I can read. With our greatest appreciation, the Senior Lawyers section of the State Bar of Georgia recognizes Bill Gentry for his tireless work and support of the conception and the creation of the State Bar of Georgia Senior Lawyers Division. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank all of you. Let's take one with you.
Thank you, Betsy, and congratulations to the Senior Lawyers Division and Bill for your great work. Thank you. We're almost there. Under new business, let me recognize Mark Alexander for a brief announcement and appeal.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Mark Alexander from Gainesville, Georgia. It's one thing to study war, it's another to live the warrior's life. I've recently gave up the civil private practice of over 30 years to undertake the challenge of serving our judicial district's circuit as its circuit public defender. Not to pursue a paycheck. Thank you. No. Hear me first. I did it not to pursue a paycheck, but to pursue a purpose. And that was to create a culture of excellence and indigent defense. And I say it's a challenge because currently our office is operating at about 50% capacity for lawyers. I have 9 lawyer vacancies. The president was kind enough to allow me to come up and speak to you because I am actively looking for experienced trial lawyers. I need trial lawyers who are ready to lead a trial team. I need trial lawyers who are ready to mentor and teach the next generation of bright young lawyers. And I need trial lawyers who are ready to do the work that matters. Many of you who are watching have made partner, have made money, and now I want to offer you the opportunity to make a difference. To trade in the billable hour, the firm politics, for an impact. To pursue the calling of our Chief Justice, to preserve and defend the rule of law. We are an hour away from Atlanta. We are a world away from its traffic and its grind. What I can offer you is great health care, great schools, great community, and a great way of life. If you are interested in any of that, call me, Mark Alexander. If you want to email me, my new email address is warriorcpd@gmail.com. I welcome any interested inquiries. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
I have a couple of announcements before we, in fact, let me take this out of turn. Is there any reason to go into executive session? Hearing none, I have a couple of announcements before we adjourn. First, the attendance rolls. If you see one, let's not pack it up. We need to get those back to our secretary. Also, your clickers, don't pack those up either. Leave those on the table so that we can pick those up. Finally, in 2 parts. First, a big thank you to the Omni at the Battery. This has been a great venue. This has been a great week. And thanks to all of you for making it a great mid-year meeting. Great hotel, but the valet will bottleneck. Please don't everyone rush to valet right now, because you'll be there a while. So go enjoy some lunch. Take your time. I think we are providing snacks. It's that serious. Take your time. There will be snacks. And if you do rush at one time for valet, you would wish that you had gone to have a little bit of lunch. So wanted to make that announcement. Again, thanks for a great mid-year meeting and for all the work you do. With that, we stand adjourned.